oh, come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel.
Greetings, family, and welcome to another special message from the Ancient Ones. My name is Dr. Mumbi. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray, family, that you are well in absolutely all your ways, and that you're using the special spiritual grace in this season to really get your life back, to get your mind back, to get your story back in your control. Because let me tell you, the majority of people, even right now, even the ones who know, only 5% are truly living. Out of the billions of people around the world, only 5% are truly living life on their own terms, in their own narrative. The majority of humans are busy sacrificing their energy to support someone else, and they don't even know, or they don't even see a way to stopping that. And the only people who can give you a roadmap to your true liberation, to really having your mind and your heart in your control and not to be triggered all the time by Babylon and MK altered by Babylon and gaslit by Babylon to do what they want and to misuse your energy. Only your ancestors and the ancient ones. Learning to call on them, to hear them, to commune with them. If you're blessed and highly favored, then they are amongst you even right now. And that's what gives you an edge, family. Special shout out to everyone that supports us on Patreon. Definitely consider supporting us on that platform where we have exclusive content, a lot of ebooks and other materials that are not available on this public arena, and enable us to give more energy and time to the Wake Up Africa movement family. The message from the ancient ones is that the spell that was over Africa, the curse that was over Africa, has been lifted. Now, I've shared this story periodically over, since I started doing this 5 years ago, where I talked about how among the Agikoyo nation, which is one of the Bantu nations, we had a great seer who saw the coming of the colonialists. And there are different seers and Libons and Modomogos, the ones, because you see, at that time, at the arrival of the Babylonians, as I'll call them, we had very powerful seers who were still at the head of our spiritual culture, our spiritual societies. And they talked about how a spell of sleep was cast over Mama Earth. And then these beautiful white butterflies came, for example, around Mount Zion and confused our people with their beauty for a season and a time, with their uniqueness. So it's not like the European found us unaware of his coming. Many were very aware of his coming. And what has been revealed to me, family, is that a lot of the very powerful empires, the Wakandas that were there, chose to step into a different dimension in order not to experience the fall. It was believed at that time that because we lived in a mental reality, that when our wizards and our sorcerers and our sorceresses and the witches of light and the witches of darkness and the high priests of the light, and the way you can think about it is those ones who wanted to control versus those ones who wanted to liberate so we can all move higher. There came a war amongst us, family. And it is the belief of the great seers that it was us when we started kingdom against kingdom, queendom against queendom, queendom against kingdom. It was when we started having these wars against ourselves that we actually opened up our narrative to a larger war. Or even somehow, and those wars kept bringing our vibration down. And so even our collective vibration fell onto a point where it could be hooked onto another narrative because those people were looking for the things that we had. The witches and wizards of Babylon were an energetic match for the wicked witches and wizards of our people. And that's why you'll see like different narratives which talk about how we sold our own to slavery, where kingdoms would sell the losing kingdoms. And there's all kinds of excuses that have been made. Some have said, oh, we never thought slavery would be like that because for us, a slave actually joined the family and became part of the family. It was nothing like becoming an animal. Whatever excuses were given, but family. It was a deep belief that when we started to have disunity, which brought on this duality spirit, that is the only way the Babylon ship or the gods of the Babylonians were able to come in and hook to our story and divert us onto his story. We acknowledge the ancestors in the wind. And a lot of times, family, the Mzungu did not have the power to take us out. But they would approach this sorceress and ask this sorceress to lead him to who are the high priests? Who are the high priestesses? You know what? If you show us that, we'll give you that power. We'll make you the high priest of your people. And even though these people, our own people, our betrayers, our Judases, knew that that's not how it works, they still allowed themselves to be seduced into wanting titles and spiritual rankings that they were not entitled to. And there is a great karmic debt for those ones who opened up this door and brought us all down. Because I remember there's a Kaya forest here, a very sacred forest, where our ancient ones used to do a lot of, rituals and everything. And apparently there was an ancient staff or instrument of power that the Mzungus were able to convince one young man to go in there and get. And he did that without knowing the consequences. But it's because all these things happened, family. So they've used our power against us. But for the longest time, the Vaticans of this world have not been able to run this by just because they know our books, they have our books and they know our secrets. They've been able to engage and compromise certain bloodlines that are able to do this work for them, that have the power to run this. And I remember a very powerful wizard from one of the families in the West African Bantu nations. He contacted me and he was telling me how they can no longer run things. The reason we're seeing Babylon falling at such an accelerated rate is because the old sorcerers and sorceresses are gone. The old spiritually high-ranking they're fading out. A lot of them are dying from disease when they're not the bloodlines they're in. They're never supposed to die. But all of a sudden, you're hearing this great teacher has got, from this great family, has cancer, has this, has that. That's the judgment. But what he told me is they are a dying breed and they're no longer willing to activate and the new breed, us new high priestesses, high priests, wizards, sorceresses, oracles. A majority of us have refused to right those wrong, or sorry, not even to right those wrong. We have refused to be the stooge of Babylon. Babylon is like Satan when Satan shows you, I will give you the whole world if you bow and call me God. Basically, these are the deals that have been made with some of the most powerful, because every season has its prophets, every season has its oracle, every season has its spiritual elders, and Babylon is always trying to, and it's Jesus's or whatever you want to call it, and they're always trying to look for those ones with that energy signature to compromise them, bully them, or have them be betrayed into helping them to keep the system running, because they don't have the energetic balance to keep some of these instruments of power activated. And this is how our people have been enslaved. So the ancient ones wanted me to just let you know that they have taken care of a lot of our spiritual authority that was compromised. A lot of our spiritual authority are not these evangelical priests that you're seeing around, family. It's not these, religious people that everyone is parading around. In fact, if you were to even look at I don't want to go too deep into this, but if you were to look at the Bushiris of this world, family, that whole operation, they are the highest level wizards, and the one who is running them, I don't even think I should mention his name. Although, of course, yeah, I mean, it might be good for him to also know I'm here. Anyway, he is one of the highest level existing wizards right now. A lot of these African evangelical or African foundational, we honor the ancestors in the wind. A lot of these evangelical movements that are born and bred in Africa, family, they're being run by some very high level, they're actually being run through African traditional magic, or most of you would only understand it as magic. So let me use the word magic. And if you look at how these guys have done it, they've done it better than the Mzungu ones. If you look at their crusades and how much money and what they're doing. But the ones who are helping Babylon to keep this oppression going, the ones who would activate the skulls that the British still have in their museums of our people and do rituals on them during moon cycles, the ones who would use their blood and intertwine their blood with the blood of our fallen heroes and sheroes. Those ones are now, they're fading out, family. And as they fade out, and there's no one to replace them, Africa is becoming more and more free. The atmosphere is changing because we have been under this severe oppression of poverty, which was more of a mentality. We were told we were poor, and so we created that poverty reality for ourselves. And then we had our own people who took advantage of that. And instead of telling us that the poverty was a big fat white lie, they used that poverty to have vain riches for a season and a time. Vain experiences, big houses, big cars, big this, big that, when you can manifest that on your own. You don't need Babylon there's nothing Babylon can offer you. To go against your people and not face perpetual hell. Like, what would make that worth it to you? Because we win in the end. We are the ones, we will outlive the Babylon matrix. because we were, we are, and we will always be. And so those same sorcerers and sorceresses who betrayed us yesterday, today they were strong, they continue to help Babylon, and they're dying of diseases and illnesses of Babylon. And tomorrow they will wake up enslaved. And so the spell of sleep, the spell of hypnosis that has been on our people is lifted. But it has done so much damage, family, that there is still this residue energy of our oppression, of poverty, of everything that has been done of us. This residue narrative, this narrative is still hanging like it still exists because it was so powerfully on us, but it is done. And if you continue to listen to Babylon, family, you will think we're never going to win. We're not even winning now. But if you put your attention to your own inner truths, to your own inner world, to the dialogue that you're receiving from the Most High and the angelic realm and the ancient ones, you will know that it's truly over and we are truly in a new dispensation. And you have no responsibility but to yourself, to healing yourself of this hypnosis, of this brainwashing, which is not an easy thing, and to living a true life that would be worthy of the ones that we are representing, both the dead and the unborn, our ancestors and our descendants. We have been under such a deep spell of sleep, family. It was so deep that the ones who put us under that spell never thought we'd come out of it. They had been told of the reset that happens every 25,000, every 27,000 years, where regardless of how far we have gone from ourselves, we always return to center. But they were so arrogant because we fell so hard. They were so arrogant in thinking that they would somehow be the ones who stopped this cosmic ending to their bullshit. Excuse my French. But it's done, family. And like in every war, where we have PTSD to deal with, post-traumatic stress disorder. We have so many mental illnesses that we have to confront. We have so many spiritual illnesses that we have to take care of. We have so many physical ailments that will actually be taken care of once we get the psychic sorted out, the emotional sorted out, the mental sorted out. The physical will take care of itself, but some of us, the physical needs help because it may not make it till we get that revelation. And so this is where our energy needs to be. Not in discussing with Babylon whether there's a revolution happening in Africa or not, and in engaging in those narrative wars. I've actually only started my main channel again to try and bring an elevated, more sophisticated angle to what's happening for the season that I am told to by the Most High. If it was up to me, I would not do it. If it was up to me, family, I would not be on YouTube. I am here because of orders from above. Because something has ended. A whole cycle is over. And we are the ones who are in the wilderness, here to just let our people know it's over. And it's not about the thousands or hundreds of thousands who don't believe us. It's about you, who, when I say it's over, you know somewhere inside of you that it's really over. You feel it. And that is the key to your liberation. That switches something in here. It switches something in here. And these are the things that will release you, family, because our responsibility is to ourselves to get out of poverty mentality, of hurt mentality, of broken relationships mentality, of I'll never be happy mentality, and to really build what we consider our paradise on earth, just in honor of everything that has been put together to bring this celebration to our generation. And in living your happiest, best life, you leave a legacy, because this will be a crossroads, family, for so many. What is happening, what we are participating in now, will be in the stories, in the our stories of the future, where they will look at this as the great parting of our people, where a spirit came and separated us for a season and tried to convince us and clone us into being like them. And when that season ended, some of us were able to come back and we all met. There was a divide. There were those of us who were able to come back to ourselves. We honor the ancient ones in the wind, sorry, family. There were those of us who were able to come back to who we've always been, to ourselves, to come back to center, and therefore board the mental ship to a new reality. But there are also those who, unfortunately, through this separation, this cosmic separation, this spiritual separation, they have been stuck in the wilderness and they have missed that quantum leap. And there is still a window where they can get on the ship and be shipped out of here, mentally, remember. But for many, they will remain and they are now becoming their own new tribe as our nations are brought back together again so that we can continue this journey of life. And in the next 25,000 years, they will have another opportunity, but it will be harder and it will get harder because so many more narratives. Imagine all the narratives that they will have that will be on top of this one in the next 25,000 years. So what you need to know for yourself, for your generation, for your family is that the spell of sleep is over. You are no longer bound physically, mentally, spiritually. You are free. But you must free yourself by walking out of that mental prison cell. We can't now come and walk you out, family. The gates are open. You're free. But you have to stand up and walk into your freedom, which is a mental thing, which is where the healing and the restoration and the re-education comes in. And we have a lot of episodes on this show that help you with that. So definitely make sure you subscribe, family, and help us to keep the Wake Up Africa movement going by supporting the channel either through Patreon or through a love donation through PayPal. TUKO PAMOJA.